Good morning everyone. This morning you're making chili lamb sausage rolls. This is a beautiful recipe. You can have it for lunch or afternoon dinner and everyone in your family will enjoy them. Don't panic about the chili, they're not too spicy. And if you wanted to, you could reduce that anyway. So before you begin, make sure you have a nice clean apron, make sure your hair is tied back, any jewelry is removed from your fingers, and make sure that you wash your hands for 20 seconds in hot soapy water. You also need to have all of your ingredients laid out and also your equipment. To begin with, you need to make sure you have a nice big baking tray with some baking paper and also make sure you turn your oven on to 220 degrees so it's preheated. It needs to be nice and hot so when the sausage rolls go in, the puff pastry puffs up and gets nice and light and crispy. The next thing to do is collect all of your ingredients. I'll make sure they are all listed here for you so that you can either screenshot it, write them down or whatever so you have them handy. Okay, the first thing you need to do is chop up your onion. You need half a small brown onion. So just cut that in half. You can keep the other half for something else later. I wrap it in Glad Wrap quite a few layers and put it in the fridge so that it doesn't make my fridge smell. Remove the brown skin, trim off that end, leave the root end intact and just peel this off. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to get it off. Then putting the flat part onto the chopping board and keeping your fingers curled under, slice in one direction towards the root. And spin it around and back the other way. Have a scrap bowl handy on your bench so that you can keep your work area nice and clean. Garlic clove, you also need to do the same thing. Remove the skin, and this time I'm going to use a microplane grater, or you can just dice it up really finely if you don't have a microplane grater. Just watch your fingers. Sharp tap to get it all off. Now I'm going to preheat my pan, ready to cook the onion. I have some olive oil here, so 1 tablespoon of oil into my pan. Swirl that around. Your pan should be on a medium to high heat. Place the onion in and give it a little stir. Now you want to saute this till it's lightly fried and it's translucent. The garlic doesn't go in yet, it just goes in a little minute. While that's cooking, I'm going to measure out my spices. I have some cumin and I need 1 teaspoon of cumin. If you don't have measuring spoons, you can estimate, but it's also a good idea to have a flat knife or a spatula to measure accurately. I'm going to pop all my spices into this bowl. You need half a teaspoon of coriander. You need half a teaspoon of chili flakes. If you love chili, you could add a little bit extra. And 1 teaspoon of sweet paprika. My onion is sizzling now. I'll give it a little stir. Okay, my onion is nice and soft, so I will add my garlic and let that cook for about 30 seconds. Stirring that around. And I forgot to measure before my salt. I need half a teaspoon of salt, so I'm just going to add that into my spices as well. Just combine them all together, and they're going to get added to the onion mix too, and cook them off. Cooking spices helps release the aroma and the flavour. When you're cooking, please don't leave your onions unattended. They can obviously burn, and also it's quite dangerous to leave anything on the stove unattended. So please keep an eye on it at all times. My onion is ready now, so I'm going to transfer this into a large bowl and let that cool down, and I will measure my other ingredients. In this recipe, you need 400 grams of lamb mince, and you need 1/3 a cup of fresh breadcrumbs. If you have a food processor, just get 2 or 3 slices of bread, blend them up in the food processor and measure them out. Any leftovers you can just pop into a plastic bag and put in the freezer. If you don't have a food processor, the way you can get breadcrumbs is you can trim off the crust of about 2 or 3 slices of bread. And then cut them into some smaller pieces. Place into a bowl and cover with some milk until it is nice and covered. Not too much though, you don't want them to be too soggy. Press it down so that the milk can soak in. After 2 or 3 minutes, you can mash it with a fork, and then that's ready to use in your sausage rolls. Crack an egg into a jug and whisk it up with a fork. Half of this egg will go into your sausage roll mixture and the other half will be used as a glaze for on top. Now we add all the ingredients together. The mince can go in with the onion mixture, your breadcrumbs can go in, and half your egg. And you can stir them up. You can just use a spatula or a wooden spoon if you like. I have a glove, so I'm going to use my hands, or you can just use your hands without a glove. Just make sure you've washed your hands before you put your hands in there. Mix it for 30 seconds to a minute to make sure all the ingredients are well and truly combined. If you used a glove, make sure you dispose of it into the bin. The next stage is to divide your mixture into 4. I have my 4 even piles there. I now get my puff pastry sheet and I need to cut it in half this way. And I'll get my first filling pile and spread it along the pastry. Try and make it an even width and length all the way. Okay, and I'm going to do my second pile now as well, while my hands are dirty. Then I'll wash them and I'll show you how to roll. You do wash your hands throughout the cooking process between each stage as well, so that you're not working on a dirty bench. The next step is to get your leftover egg that you set aside earlier and brush it across the 2 ends of the pastry. Now you'll notice there's a blue plastic backing. You need to peel that off as you roll your sausage rolls, or you can remove it beforehand and just roll it over until the seam is underneath. Okay, just gently peel that off and repeat with the second one. Roll it over and then press down gently so that the seam seals. Remove the blue plastic. And then you can cut your sausage rolls. Try and cut them so you don't squash them down too much. Little sawing action. I'm going to do mine into 6 pieces. You could do them into 8 if you want smaller ones, or you could just do into thirds and get bigger ones. You'll notice my knife is getting dirty. It's a good idea to get some paper towel and wipe that down so that it doesn't transfer across. I'm going to flip my chopping board around so it's easier to chop the other one. Same thing, in half and then into 3 each side to make 6. So you'll make about 24 all up. Now with my egg, I'm going to brush it on now while they're all still lined up together, or you can separate them out onto the tray and do it that way. And then in this container, I have my topping ingredients, which is 3 teaspoons of sesame seeds and 1/4 teaspoon of sweet paprika. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of this over the top. This is optional. You don't have to include these on yours. Then transfer onto the baking tray. Repeat for your second sheet of pastry and your other 2 piles of lamb mince mixture. So my chili lamb sausage rolls are now ready to go into the oven. The oven's nice and hot, preheated to 220, and they will take about 25 to 30 minutes. Don't forget to set your timer and make sure you clean up while they are in the oven. While my sausage rolls are in the oven, I thought I'd do a quick little research about when sausage rolls were first invented. They're not entirely sure who first invented it, but they think it was the Greeks or the Romans that came up with the idea of wrapping food into a dough or a pastry, and they thought that it became more popular around the 18th century. It was a British man who decided to wrap a sausage in puff pastry, and that was the first sort of real invention of the sausage roll. Now, at first, apparently, it didn't taste very nice, but when war hit and there were lots of hungry people, it then became more popular because it was a really easy food that people could make and eat cheaply. It made its way to Australia, probably when the first settlers or in the time afterwards that someone brought it over, and it has now become a very popular food for us. We find it in bakeries, cafes, easy to make at home, and a really, really just popular, nice food to eat. Enjoy yours when you get to eat them a little bit later. So you can see they're ready now, beautiful and puffed and golden. Please use tongs to transfer them on a plate for serving. And you can serve them just with traditional tomato sauce. I have a really lovely chutney here that I'm going to serve with mine. And dig in. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy your sausage rolls, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.